Why learn Buddhism? Let's talk about why one should learn Buddhism if one can't enjoy worldly pleasure. What's the point? It seems difficult and involves suffering. Why do we have to practice in such a way? This is indeed a crucial question. We need to realize that our worldly minds are very limited. Our mind and the Buddha's mind are essentially the same. The Buddha's mind has attained the greatest freedom, while our mind lacks freedom. We float with our karma and suffer every day. The suffering of change and all-pervasive suffering. We become disturbed and upset over small things. The so-called attainment of Buddhahood is not about acquiring anything. Rather, it's about purifying our minds of all our afflictions, enabling us to achieve the greatest freedom. All sentient beings strive for happiness and bliss, but ordinary people often employ misguided methods to do so. Practitioners, on the other hand, use the correct approach. When their afflictions diminish or disappear, this is the ultimate happiness and bliss. The happiness that worldly people strive for are actually a form of the suffering of change. This will eventually result in further suffering. The suffering of suffering and the suffering of change are relative concepts. The suffering of change fuels your desires, and as your desires increase, if you don't receive what you want, the suffering of suffering arises. You once took pleasure in the suffering of change, but there are thousands of more sufferings ahead of you. Only true bliss will not turn into suffering. This is true liberation. That's why we should learn Buddhism. By learning Buddhism, we attain ultimate and complete freedom. With this freedom, we can perform countless wonderful acts to help all sentient beings who are suffering. Practicing becomes truly meaningful. Life has no other meaning except for this. Other meanings only bring suffering. So we should learn Buddhism. We must understand the significance of learning Buddhism. Why should we learn Buddhism? We must grasp this concept, and the more you learn Buddhism, the more joyful you will become.